Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, let me just quickly share my screen first before I proceed with uh, the presentation proper. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, Arian.
All right. So again, hi everyone and good afternoon and thank you for joining us today. So again, my name is Yan and just a quick, background of myself. I work closely with businesses across various industries to implement solutions that drive efficiency, reduce operational bottlenecks, and ensure compliance with evolving regulations like the one that we're doing right now, the Malaysia invoicing mandate, right? And I've also had this privilege of guiding companies, especially small and large enterprises, through digital transformations. And it's truly rewarding to see how leveraging the right technology can solve real world challenges. And today, I'm very excited to walk you through in the for our topic this afternoon, hassle-free my invoice compliance and ready in 1 week without changing anything. I think this topic's quite, very catchy and attractive. Like, how are we able to help, some of the organizations be ready when it comes to the my invoice compliance in just 1 week? So again, I think at the end of the session, we will be able to I hope we will be able to provide you some information and insight for you to help that. But maybe before I dive into my, presentation proper exactly, maybe I'd like to raise some few questions, or maybe I'd like to also to see some hands from our audience. If you have similar questions, right, with some of the customers that we also encountered, like, does any one of you have heard LHDN's My Invoice mandate before coming into this webinar? Or do you have these questions if your business will require to comply with my invoice based on your annual revenue? So if that's something that you're thinking, if you will be covered of it, maybe this session would be a good one for you. And also, if you do have questions like, what do I need to comply? Will there be any changes with my company regulations and so on? I think I would suggest that you guys will try to finish the session at the end so that we can also share with you some of the demos that we prepared, and also to answer some of your questions that you might have during our Q&A portion. And I know some of you guys are also busy business owners, right? We also have some audience from accounting firms, or just trying to figure out what this My Invoice is all about and how it's going to impact your daily work. So today's sessions is all about simplifying that journey. So let me dive into the introduction first. So why My Invoice is coming and why you shouldn't panic, right? Okay, so first let's talk about first the elephant in the room. So this whole thing, my invoice, right? So actually LHDN, which is the Malaysia's tax authority, right, is rolling out a national e-invoicing system, and it's all about making tax reporting more transparent, accurate, and real time. So we've seen this in other places, not just in Malaysia, but with other countries as well, like Singapore, and also some places in Europe are already starting to use this e-invoicing mandate from their government. And Malaysia is this is actually the time we're in Malaysia's turn to go into digital. But here's the thing, this isn't actually something that you need to panic over again. And it's not, a business overhaul, but it's actually an upgrade. So I'm always thinking about whenever I talk to my to our some customers, right, that this is not just something that they need to like uh panic about, because you can think of it like you're having your own laptop now, right? So in this age we're in, technology now becomes more advanced. right? So whenever you want to write something, it's like before we used to use typewriter, right? I hope you still we have audience here that have experience using the typewriter before, but now with the current age and era now, we're now using laptop. But still, at the end of the day, your goal is just to write, right? So it's just making your process faster and a lot smarter. So I think that's what you can also think about My Invoice. It's making, the tax reporting more transparent, accurate, in real time. So that's what it's all about. Now, let me go to a some misconceptions of about this mandate, right? And a lot of you might have these questions again, that will there be any changes in my business, in my process, in my organization, and in my people on how we do things. So the good news is, despite what you have heard, a lot of things, right? A lot of things aren't actually changing, because you still have your control over your prices and invoicing terms. So it doesn't mean that, once you comply, the e-invoicing mandate doesn't affect, how you do your pricing with your goods and services and a set of payment terms, right? You can still operate your business the same way as you're doing it right now. In terms of your existing system, like if you do have your in-house developed systems, no need to change ERP or any accounting system. You can still do so, use them. So nothing will have changed on that part. And existing sales workflows remain intact, right? And another thing is that, of course, for small businesses, you still have to manually entry, or you can still manually entry your invoice details through the My Invoice portal, which is later in my next few slides. I'll be discussing more in detail. But yeah, again, you can still do your manual entry to the My Invoice portal. LHDN is not policing your pricing or business strategy. Customer relationship stays the same, and you can still issue some of your document like the refunds, credit or debit notes. So it's also going to be the same. Now, at the end of the day, I think your daily operations will still be the same. So those misconceptions that you are heard about is, aren't going to change anything the way you do your process at the moment. So it's still going to be the same. And the good thing about having the right, system in place, or what kind of platform to use, I think that's the most, or that's a good questions that you have to ask yourself, right? What do I need to use in order for me to comply without changing everything? And I think that's what our topic is all about. And that's what we are really wanted to communicate to our audience in today's afternoon session, so that we would also know and understand how we can able to help you on that area. All right. So after that, let me go through the what exactly the My Invoice compliance really is, right? So when we say My Invoice compliance, again, we're not really talking about the way you the traditional way of sending invoice, but My Invoice compliance is really talking about, the capability of sending, receiving, and submitting your tax report in a digital manner, in a real-time way, and also in a structured format. Now, I think most of you will also ask, what does it have to do with my business, right? And I think we also got a lot of same questions from different customers that we engage with, that we also hear the same questions. Actually, to answer that, there's no any benefits in terms of the business side, because at the end of the day, the goal of why the government, or especially the LHDN, is doing this is, number one, to improve the tax compliance, right? And eliminate fraud at the same time. And as part of the Malaysia's push into digital world, right? So this is also to digitize Malaysia's tax administration ecosystem. So I think that's 3 points are the goal of LHDN, while they are, having this um, compliance for all the businesses, especially those that are present in Malaysia specifically. Now, all right, let's take a closer look at the scope of Malaysia's e-invoicing mandate, right? Or simpler terms, who needs to comply and with what exactly you have to do. So whether you're a small business owner or a large enterprise, or even maybe you are somewhere in between, this is actually relevant to you. So allow me to just help you emphasize these two different transactions that we are talking about. So again, to answer one of the biggest questions, like who needs to comply? all registered taxpayer in Malaysia needs to comply with it. This includes the companies, right? Sole proprietorships, partnerships, and also limited liability partnerships are included in this. Then not just the individual businesses, but also individual conducting business. So these are the freelancers, consultants, even bookkeepers. Whenever they do their business, right, or whenever they provide goods or services, there has to be an invoice, and there has to be like they have to comply to it. Also, both GST and SST registered and even non-registered business have to comply on this one. So we have the domestic transaction, which composes of the B2B, B2C, and B2G, which later in my next slide I'll be discussing more. What are the scenarios are more focusing in. So again, for cross-border transaction, these are whenever you do sales or purchase involving a party outside Malaysia, right? Whether you're exporting goods or service or importing them, as long as you have a presence in Malaysia, you also need to comply. And that's what we call the cross-border transaction. Now, having said that, okay, so there are different scenarios that we have also to consider, like because in different organizations we have different transactions, right? First scenario would be the B2B, or the what we call the business to business, correct? So business to business is this is the scenario wherein both party, perhaps supplier and your customer, is issuing an invoice to other registered business. So this transaction evolves between two business registered business. So that's the B2B. The second scenario would be the business to consumer, which is when you issued your invoice, or when you sell something to an individual, meaning you are directly transacting to your end customer, right? So it's not the business one. And then the third scenario would be the business to government. So this one is whenever you are doing transaction to any government agency, so that can also be considered as business to government transactions. So you also need to provide an invoice to that whenever you do your goods and services, right? Okay, the other one, which is the other under the cross-border transaction, is of course we have the self-billed invoices, right? So this one is an e-invoice that that the buyer issues on behalf of the seller instead of the seller generating the invoice. So I think self-billed invoices is also already a self-explanatory, but allow me to elaborate it further for if in case there are some audience that who might still confused of what self-billed invoices is all about. So let me just give me an example for this. So for example, me myself as an individual, right? I'll try to sell, for example, my old laptop in the marketplace, right? So since I don't have anything with me, I just wanted to sold my old laptop into a marketplace, and then the someone buys it. But in order for you to recognize, or if you wanted to still input the invoice, the seller can actually generate the invoice on behalf of the seller, or on behalf of the seller who sold the items to that particular buyer. So that's what we call the self invoice. So whether you have the capacity to generate it, you still have to do it so that it will be recorded, and you can still submit it to the LHDN for tax reporting compliance. Now the last one, which is the cross-border transaction again. So this includes the imports and exports. So whether you are doing export or import, you still have to issue your self-billed e-invoice for whatever goods and services you have sold, whether it's abroad or it's within the territory, or if within the same country, right? Okay, so let me move on what are the different types of e-invoice documents. So actually, currently here's the list, the one you're seeing right now in your screen. These are the list, or the standard document types that we normally process, right, for e-invoice. So we still have the standard invoices. We also have the credit note, the debit notes, and refund notes. So again, these are actually self-explanatory, but one thing that I like to share is that all of this document still needs to be submitted to the LHDN. And then once it's submitted, right? I think part of the process, which I will go through in details later in my few slides, that once you have submitted your documents as e-invoice, right, it needs to be validated by the LHDN. And then how will you prove that it has been validated? So once it's been routed to the LHDN, they are required to give you a unique QR code. So for every e-invoice that you submit, LHDN will return your e-invoice with a QR code embedded to your invoice. So whether you have to download it or send it to your customer, it's really up to you, because a lot of our customer also ask that, what if I'm uh the seller, right? So there's two entity whenever we do the e-invoice transaction. One is the seller, and then or the supplier, or the second one would be the buyer or the customer, right? So a lot of questions that we got is that, how are we able to know if the other party is not e-invoice ready yet? So because we have a timeline actually that each organizations have to be compliant, and I'll discuss and I'll have that in my few slides later on. But let me emphasize first this scenario we're in. Again, one customer asked, like, what will happen, or what do we need to do if the other party is not e-invoice ready? So the thing is, as you, organization or business owner who is already e-invoice ready, you still have to do your process. You still have to submit your invoice to the LHDN. LHDN validate it and wait for it to come back to you with the QR code. And then there's different ways on how you can deliver the validated invoice. Now, the question now is that the buyer or the other side is not e-invoice ready. So how do you know? I think that's where the having the right solution or the right platform in place can play an important role in that matter. So there are a lot of system that can, yes, provide you with the e-invoice functionality, but there are some certain areas that they cannot really provide. I will not dwell on, I will not name drop any of the those um platform, but I think that's where a good platform plays an important role, right? So that a good system should flag you as the user if the other party is not actually using or not e-invoice ready yet. But the thing is, for you to be able to send it, you have to either, one, download the validated invoice and then send it to your customer via either email, or you send them a soft copy. Second option is that you can either also print it, have the hard copy, and then send it to your customer. It's really up to you, depending on your process. If that's what you're doing at the moment, then you may still do so. The third option, you can also prepare like what do you call this? A portal, for example, a portal wherein you can give to your customers so that they can start downloading or can start viewing the validated invoice. So those are some of the considerations or options that you can think about, especially if that scenario came in that, the other party is not yet e-invoice ready, which in today's and in reality is really happening, right? Because we cannot force everyone to be compliant all at the same time. So there still be one organization that are early adopters, or there's still, some organizations that, still not convinced that, this is something that they need, this is something that they need to comply now. So we also need to adjust, right? So I think having, again, the right system in place will help you address those challenges. Okay, so all right. So let me move on to the submission mechanism now. So businesses have two primary channels to submit e-invoice. So one option is via the MyInvoice portal, which is the one that we're talking about earlier on. So this one is actually a free web-based platform provided by LHDN. So every organization, whether you're small or big, you have the options to use this. But the downside of this one is, since this is a free portal, right? So all the invoice details of your transaction needs to be manually key in this portal. So it's really up to you, of course, especially for large enterprise who process a large volume of invoices. You have to like spend a lot of time and effort just for you to key in the data under this portal. Now, the other option would be the API integration, which is most of the large enterprises and now even small micro businesses is also considering because it saves a lot of time, right? And because it saves a lot of time, they can focus more on their business, not just on like complying, because compliance is just, a small thing that's they need to do. But the most important thing is that they need to focus on what's their really their businesses really are, right? So that's why a lot of businesses consider the API integration more than having the my or more than using the My Invoice portal. So instead of keying it manually. So additionally, another thing that I'd like to highlight is that Malaysia is integrating with PEPL network. So PEPL network is the one facilitating and standardizing the e-invoice across borders, the one that I mentioned earlier, right? So since I have mentioned the PEPL network, there's also a lot of misconception of what PEPL role is all about. Is it something that we need to partner in? Is this some kind of like a subscription that we need to subscribe in? And or is this a kind of like a provider that we need to talk to? Actually, PEPL is actually something that you don't see, right? And you don't need to subscribe in because PEPL, think of it as a global e-invoicing network and standard. So PEPL network is like a uh, digital delivery network that happens at the back of your system, right? So it's like the International Postal Service for your e-documents, but it's automated and it's validated by the LHDN, meaning it follows the standard that LHDN required, right? So meaning once you are following the standard of PEPL network, then meaning all the required transaction, all the required field that is being required by the LHDN, automatically it follows through, right? So once you're using a system that is already part of the PEPL network, I think that's a good thing. I think you can leverage on that portion because you don't need to think of whether the other party is PEPL registered. Maybe it's just a matter of um asking them if they are e-invoice ready, because most of the organization or the e-invoice that I've heard in the market are already PEPL ready. So I think that's also one of the consideration that you have to think of. Now, again, Malaysia or the LHDN is adopting the PEPL standards, right? Similar that I have mentioned earlier. This is to ensure that e-invoicing system is globally interoperable, standardized across the different transaction, like the one I mentioned, the B2B, the B2C, and the B2G, and also the cross-border. And of course, lastly, ready for future trade, especially when you are also integrating or transacting with the government. So I think that's one of the main role while LHDN is having this PEPL standards in place in order to ensure all of those things that I have mentioned. Okay, so again, let me take a quick look at how e-invoicing works today, right? So in your screen, you will see on the top row the traditional invoicing process. And I think this is the process that most businesses follows today. Like you have to create your invoice, you have to create a free PDF, and then attach it into the email sent to the buyer, and then the buyer receive the email, opens it, and then key in manually the information under in the invoice into their own system. And then finally, invoices saved and processed into the buyer's software. So this is the traditional thing, which a lot of you might think, or probably you're still doing this one, which is actually, if you think of it, it's, kind of long, right? Manual, error prone, and waste of time for both parties. Because at the end of the day, you still have to redo all of those things, especially if you are processing a large number of invoices, right? Now, when we compare it to the e-invoicing thing, which is at the bottom row, so let's see how this changes with my invoice. Uh, E-invoicing will change the way we do things using the traditional way. So again, you still have the same initial process wherein the supplier generates or create their e-invoice into their ERP or accounting system, and then it's sent through the PEPL network again, Again, Peppol Network is something that you don't need to subscribe in. It's automatically part of this whatever e-invoicing solutions or system you're gonna use. So this system will actually act that the moment you send your document into the Peppol network, right? So it automatically routes and validates to the LHDN, and then whatever processes needs to be done by the LHDN side, it goes back to both ends. So meaning supplier can get the copy of the e-invoicing validated by the LHDN, and at the same time, the customer or the consumer will also get a similar copy as long as they are part of the same network. Now again, if the other party is not part of the Peppol network again, right? So you have different options to deliver your e-invoice to the customer, right? So actually, in short, this eliminates the shift to e-invoicing eliminates the manual steps, human errors, delays in processing, and even duplicate data entry. So it can also flog you if you have accidentally processed, similar invoice. So to avoid double payments, right? I think it's also a good features for your system that it has the functionality that it can flog you whenever there's a duplicate invoice that you have already processed. So again, MyInvoice isn't just about compliance, but it's about efficiency and modernization. All right, so moving on to the timeline, I think a lot of you have heard already on the timeline, so I will not deep dive on it. But I think this is not something new to us already because last year, Malaysia already announces that, those businesses with annual turnover of more than 100 million ringgit will need to comply since last year. And then part of the phase two, which happened just this year, January, that all businesses with annual turnover of between 25 million to 100 million Malaysian ringgit needs to comply on this. So if any of your business falls into this based on the annual revenue of your organization, so this where which phase are you in. So if you still doesn't follow any of the deadlines, so I think that's meaning a big challenge for the organization. And then the last phase would happen by next year, which is this one is for businesses with an annual turnover of between 150,000 and 500,000 Malaysian ringgit. All right, so that is for next year. Now, I think many of you will also ask that how about for businesses with annual turnover of less than 150,000 Malaysian ringgit? So for that, if you fall into that range, that is you're not generating more than 150,000 yet Malaysian ringgit, you still exempted for this mandate, so you don't need to comply. But it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to explore the e-invoicing thing, because at the end of the day you wanted your business to grow, right? So as your business grow, your annual or your sales revenue or your business revenue will also grow. So if anything that it falls already in any of the phases here, then you also need to consider to comply on that. And the reason why we are really encouraging our partners, businesses and organizations to comply is that there's a penalty, right? So it's a fine ranging from 200 to 20,000 instance for non-compliance, or even imprisonment up to 6 months, or both actually, depending on the severity and circumstances of the violation. So it's really very important to consider this mandate, right? Okay, so I hope you guys are still with me. I think I've already exceeded my time, but before I quick in or before I transfer or hand over the floor to the next speaker to do the demo, maybe allow me to just quickly show to you or introduce to you the game changer, right? Which is our solutions Assist. So we call it Assist, like intelligent data extractions and processing. So it has an AI-driven data extraction capability, e-invoicing, and automated approval flow. But I think what makes it more stand out, right? But before that, let me introduce what Assist is. It's actually not just another software that you can see in the market, but it's an AI-powered web-based tool who actually do two exceptional things. One is it extracts the data from the invoices with the OCR technology, and then it handles also the e-invoicing submissions to the MyInvoice. Actually, not just MyInvoice, but also Singapore's invoice now. So currently, We also both cater. So if you happen to have some businesses also in Singapore that you're thinking about complying, right? So Assist is also compliance to this Singapore's invoice now. So all you just have to do is just scan or email a document, and Assist takes over in terms of classifying, extracting, and routing it to the right system or portal, right? And of course, why you have to consider Assist. Actually, one that we are really proud to say is that we are the only platform in the market that can offer you a hybrid platform which can cater both extractions and e-invoicing all in one tool. So you don't have to like maintain multiple tools, and then just for you to be able to comply with the e-invoicing and be able to you to have your compliance, especially with the e-invoicing thing. And we also built specifically for My Invoice and Invoice Now, meaning anything that you need to comply in terms of the My Invoice requirement, we already designed our platform to be exactly how LHDN expected for you to submit your tax reporting, right? So once you uploaded your document inside, then we extract automatically whatever required fields needs to be extracted according to what LHDN is being required. And again, it's fully customizable workflows. It's also cost effective, right? I think a lot of platform is, at the end of the day, you have to consider which one is the most cost effective one. Okay, then here's a simple how AP automation becomes with Assist. So again, you just have to upload or ingest the documents by snapping a photo or sending an email, or upload PDF files and images, which later on my colleague will show you in actual so that you would more appreciate it how we can do it in our platform. It automatically identifies the type of document that you upload, whether it's an invoice or a receipt or a claim, because we actually leverage or utilizing the technology of AI so that we can have automatic classification. Data extraction also is there, as OCR captures all the key data, including the line items. So especially if you're having an invoice with a lot of line items, right? So it's really hard for you to key in them manually. So with our platform, we can actually extract that each of the line items that you have in your invoice. And then the system learns from user correction also. So the more you input or the more you feed information into the system, the more it can recognize it. So of course, the more you apply some corrections, and then you don't have to redo it again because the systems can already predict and identify that, so that it reduces the human intervention as much as possible. And of course, part of the features that we have also is the approved invoices. There's this approval workflow that is also already built in the platform that you can also leverage too. All right. So again, I think I've mentioned this many, many times. A lot of e-invoicing solution you can see in the market, right? But I think it's really up to you on how are you gonna, compare each of the solutions that you wanted to take and use, right? But one thing that we can proudly say that what make Assist stand out over other solution is that Assist does both extraction and e-invoicing, hence eliminating the need for multiple tools, right? We also consider the regulatory compliance. So we have the regulatory expertise, we have the customizable workflows in place, and again, it's cost effective compared to the other solutions that you can find in the market. So with Assist, you can get a complete AP automation system, not just for a patchwork of features, right? So you can also leverage on that one. Okay, so again, I think I already exceeded my time, but I hope these sessions help clear up the fog around my invoice and showed you that compliance doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. So if you do have any questions, I think we will have a question and answer portion at the end of the session. So you may feel free to start chatting them in our Q&A box or even in our chat box, so that our representative will help. And then later on, we can also help answer some live questions at the end of the portion. But before I introduce the next speaker, right? How can you be ready in under 1 week? I think that's the most essence of this afternoon session, right? So in order for us to help you, you may also try to scan our free trial. Actually, we're providing a free trial for 30 pages. And then in just a few clicks, you are ready to explore and ready to be compliant with your MyInvoice. So you can save the QR code that you can see on your screen, or perhaps you can already start like scanning it using your phone, or you can also show this one to you. And then so that you can start leveraging or exploring the tool by yourselves. But later we will be showing you the actual one so you can also get familiarized. Okay. And then, of course, I wanted to take this opportunity also to offer that we have the 40% discount for early adopters, plus instant setup and a risk-free trial. So this is your chance to be compliant without stress and ahead of the deadline, right? So once you subscribe or once you sign up into our free trial and then you convert into a paid subscription within 7 days after you sign up, you can get the 40% discount on your annual total plan, meaning on your annual subscription. It will automatically deducted that. Okay, so to walk us through to the live demo of Assist, I'm really excited to hand things over to the next speaker, Devin. Devin is actually our business development specialist and our go-to person for all things e-invoicing and automation. So Devin will show you exactly how easy it is to upload a document, extract the data, and get it submitted to my invoice compliance. So in just a few clicks. So without further ado, I'll hand over you to Devin. Devin, all the floor is yours. Thank you, everyone, and see you later in our Q&A.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is David. I'm really excited to walk you through the live demo of Assist, our all-in-one hub for managing income, expense, and e-invoicing. I'm assuming you already see the screen, right? Okay, so today I will be focusing on the e-invoice features. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise them during the Q&A section right after this. Okay, let's get started. So after you sign up, this is the interface, the main interface of Assist. On the left side, you can see the main features like income, expense, approval matrix, connections, and some general settings under company respectively. Now, every bond document that you upload onto the platform will be categorized as AR or AP. AR is account receivable or the income, and AP is account payable, aka the expense. So if the supplier of the document match your company information, our system will categorize it as income and vice versa. So the smart recognition rules will cut down on your manually sortings and will keep your financial record clean, and you can easily view it and send it as the invoice. Under connections, you can see the integrations. We also have an integration solutions for Xero and QuickBooks. You can connect either Xero or QuickBooks with Assist.biz, and you can simplify your e-invoicing process. But don't worry if you don't use any of these tools, because we have a customized plan that can help you, can have a solutions that will help you connect with your ERP. So you just need to contact us for that. Okay, let's get started with the e-invoicing. Under connection, you can see the e-invoice tab. When you click onto here, you need to choose the country. I will go with Malaysia because this session is dedicated for Malaysian audience. When you click onto the invoice already and choose the country, you need to key in your company name, address, city, your first name and last name, your email, and contact phone. Also, you need to key in the TIN and the SSM or the EIF, and also the MSIC code here. Yeah. These fields are all mandatory in order to connect with the Malaysia tax authority. So when you key in successfully, you click agree to term and conditions, and then you submit. So our platform will process the information up to 1 day, and then after that you can start using the e-invoicing features. But before you can start using it, we will send you a document to add us as an intermediary at MyInvoice portal. So when you sign up the e-invoice features, our staff will send out this document to you so you can perform it. You can start doing it by yourself. Okay. After 1 day, when your information is clarified, and you can start using the e-invoice. Under income and expense, you can see the e-invoice features is already enabled here. Okay, so let's start uploading a document. You can select all and add document. Yeah, in the add document sections, you can add up to 100 invoice as one. But for now, I will just add the first invoice for you to see. Okay, upload. You can see the document is processing. Okay, we will now process uploading another document. Oh, here the document is here. So when you click on the invoice that you just upload onto the platform, on the left side, you will see the screen. You will see the photo of the document that you just uploaded. And on the right side, you will see all the information already extracted for you. As the supplier info, Serve-Link Technologies, in this case, match your company information. So the document will automatically be classified as AP, account payable. Yeah, you can see all the information already extracted. Now, to be able to send it to the government LHDN, you just need to click can be sent as e-invoice. Our AI has already filled in all the information for you. If the information is the first time, if this is a new customer and you have just upload an e-invoice for this customer for the first time, you need to manually key in the BRN and the TIN of the customer for the first time, and then we will remember it on the platform. So next time when you're sending invoice from the same customer, we will automatically key in for you. And also there's a one highlight that we want to focus on is the exchange rate. So if your invoice is in a different currencies like USD or Singapore dollar, you need to convert it to Malaysian ringgit in order to send it to the LHDN platform. So we have the currency here. You can select the currency and the exchange rate. We will automatically extract the exchange rate and the information shown here. But if you want to input your own exchange rate, you can always type it in. Yeah, for example, like this. And remember to check the issue date on the due date. Also, there's another point that I want to highlight is the category. So as you know, When you want to send it to LHDN, you have to categorize your invoice. We already have a list here, so you can check. If your invoice include import goods, mean products you import from other countries. For example, you can see we have a field where you ask the K1 number for goods import according to the LHDN rules. Yeah, for now I will just click select it. Okay, and you also need to check the unit, the quantity, the tax type. When all the information is filled in, you just need to submit. Okay, you can see that we already sent this invoice to LHDN platform. You can check the status at the e-invoice history. Usually our platform only process this up to a minute. You can check the status here in the e-invoice. In the all, yeah, there's the pending. Here is the pending. Also, when your invoice is already processed successfully by the government portal, there's a status, a success status here, and there will be a QR code that you can download and send to your clients and customer. I guess that was that's finished my session for the live demo finished. So if you have any Q&A, please raise it and we will gladly go through it one by one.
We have some questions here.
Yeah.
I mean, probably might not be available publicly, but we received one questions like, can assist e-invoice handle high volumes of invoices for larger enterprise? So to answer is yes. Assist.biz in e-invoice is actually scalable to handle both small and high volumes customers or even the large enterprise, right? So for larger enterprise, we offer advanced automation, real-time reporting, and also integration. If ever you have to happen to use any existing ERP or accounting system, so we can also take a look on integrating it. Currently, our platform is already integrated with Zero and QuickBooks. So if you are already an organization using this tool, then Assist is really right fit for you because it's already integrated there. So that one ensures also even the complex workflows as part of what David mentioned or I have mentioned in my presentation, right? Part of the features is that we also have that workflows to even cater if ever you have some approval processes before you even send your invoice to accounting, whether in accounting or e-invoicing. So yes, but the answer is yes, we can handle high volumes of e-invoicing. And sorry, aside from that, we also have the enterprise plan, right? So if ever there's a need for customization, then we could also explore the enterprise plan that we have. The feature is much more advanced compared to the one that we have. The one that we have based on the standard is mostly for our SME and solopreneurs. But basically the features are there, but it's of course with the enterprise, it's more high end, it's more advanced. So yeah.
All right, Yan, there's another question for you. What industries benefit the most from Assist Business e-invoice?
Industry. Okay, so I think when it comes to industry, there's no specific industry, right? So I think as long as, because at the end of the day, what assists do is that helping you to be compliant with what the government is being asked you to comply, right? So regardless of what industries you are in, I think the good answer to that is that our platform doesn't really cater whatever industries you are. We can actually adapt to any specific industry. So whether you are in the healthcare industry, manufacturing industry, or even in some retails, right? We can actually support that one. So And to give you or cite you an example, we even partners with even large, ERP provider like, Dynamics 365, SAP. So of course there are different type of compliance depending on the country. But again, for Malaysia, which is the one that we are focusing on, yes, we can already uh, cater to that requirement, especially if you are in your business is in Malaysia. So I think Assist can already adapt to that. I think I saw some questions also like, is Assist.biz affordable for small business? So maybe I'll answer that while Jasper is looking into some questions. Yes, actually it's affordable, especially for small business. We even start our plan as low as $8 per month. Right. So if you go to visit our website, right, you would see there our pricing plan. So we do provide a free trial actually for 30 pages. So once you try it out, you have 30 pages to explore and maximize, to try out and send your invoices there and feel it for yourself how it can extract the data out from your invoice. And then once you turn into a subscription one, yes, our plan starts from $8 per month. Premium one is $16 per month. And then of course for the enterprise, it's really depend on the requirements. So perhaps if you do have some requirements, then feel free to reach out to any of our representatives so we can, discuss that in details.
Actually, we have quite a few questions coming in, Yan, but there's one that is the most commonly asked is how do Assist ensure that invoices are tamper-proof?
Tamper-proof, meaning like security, like the data is
Yeah.
security, right? Okay, I think that's a good question. So when we are talking about data security, and I think a lot of developer I think that's one thing that a lot of development or solutions integrator is most consider about, like how do we secure the data? So with Assist.biz, all your data is actually securely stored in a cloud with automated backups. Even in the unlikely event of a system failure, we ensure that your records are safe and recoverable, ensuring uninterrupted business operations. So I think there's nothing to worry about in terms of data loss because, of course, at the back end of our system, we have a different system failure. I mean, backups that to ensure that you still manage to have an interrupted business operation. So yeah, I hope I answered the question.
All right, Yan. So I think we can conclude the session today. As we have more questions, but we'll definitely answer them via email or any of our social medias where we get those questions. So that's a wrap up for today's webinar. Big thank you to our speakers, Ariane and David, and of course to all of you for joining today. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you in our future sessions.